Welcome to Racing Education, a series that aims to open the doors on the incredible sport of horse racing. Join us as we get behind the scenes and take to the skies to find out how and why horses fly.
We head stateside to the Breeders' Cup with the Platinum Queen and Midnight Mile as they take on the Americans at the World Championships.
Strange environment to put horses in at airports. You go business class, economy, it's the same as people.
You know, in horse racing, as a trainer, you'd hope one day you might be lucky enough to have a horse to run the Breeders' Cup.
It's the elite of the elite.
What is it that makes the Breeders' Cup so special to you?
It's just an all-star race for horses, so you get the best from all around the world. Most of the races, any horse can win.
Well, the atmosphere on a Breeders' Cup Day is tremendous. You get people from all walks of life roaming around in the crowd, very colourful characters, and to win a Breeders' Cup race will live long in the memories of anyone who can do it.
Find out how they fly the thousands of miles to the USA and the work that goes into preparing a horse for a long-haul flight and elite international competition.
Just hoping now everything runs smoothly for the plane and over there, and she takes it all in her stride.
So our journey begins here at the yard of Richard Fahey, and this is the Platinum Queen, one of the yard's big hopes for the Breeders' Cup 2022. And we're going to check out some of the work she's doing before she flies over to Kentucky. And we're going to speak to some of the people that look after her and put the work into looking after horses like the Platinum Queen and Midnight Mile before they take on a big journey overseas. So Erin, we're here with Midnight Mile on the day she flies to Kentucky. What are your hopes for the Breeders' Cup?
We're hoping for a big run from her. Yeah, be her first time on an aeroplane. Should be fantastic. And her temperament is phenomenal, so it's all pluses. So just want to get out there now and get on with it.
So this is the Platinum Queen, one of Richard Fahey's big prospects over in Keeneland at the Breeders' Cup 2022. She's just doing some of her final prep work before she flies off to Kentucky later this afternoon. And you might be wondering, do horses have luggage like human beings? Horses need things, you know, they've got requirements when they go wherever they need to go. And the answer is yes. I'm joined by Catherine here at Richard Fahey's to find out more information on what goes in to taking a horse abroad.
It kind of starts about 2 months before. They need bloods done to be able to travel. They need obviously their passports and customs documents. They all kind of take quite a while.
There's a period of quarantine involved when you arrive in America. What sort of preparation do you have to do for that?
Not a lot really. They're going to arrive there on the Saturday and they quarantine Sunday, Monday, and they get released on the Tuesday.
There's no horse in the country can't travel with its own passport. They're quite self-explanatory, the age, the sex, the species, and then you have its unique life number, which is microchip number, and then you go a few pages in and it's got its markings. Sometimes a chip, so you can't get mixed up because there's been a few cases, and then you obviously with all the vaccinations stamped and signed by our vet. One of the most important things, the horse can't run without it.
Do you have to do things like check in the horse's luggage and things like that?
Yeah, so they send it the day before to the airport so they can check it that there's nothing in it that you can't have in it, and then we're good to go.
So we're here in a bed fit for a queen, the Platinum Queen. She's just done her final bits of work before she flies over to Kentucky later this afternoon. And Erin, is she ready for America?
Yeah, definitely. We can't wait now to get over and see her perform. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes, not only just for the horse, but for Joel Thomas, our head travelling lad. He's had to organise a lot, and Catherine in the office to book and plan. Especially when we've got two live contenders going across, you don't leave anything for chance in the sense of what you bring in the medical side and also for the horse and obviously the riding side for us. So the last sort of weeks just been a little bit stressful just to make sure everything's fine. Okay. And we've got everything. hopefully she can relax on the plane and have a good ride over.
So then, we've got a rough idea of how much hard work and preparation goes into sending racehorses to far-flung destinations around the world. The next time we see the Platinum Queen and Midnight Mile will be in Kentucky for the Breeders' Cup, where we're going to speak to the owners and trainers about why send racehorses thousands of miles around the world to run a race. We're also going to take in some of the incredible atmosphere at Keeneland for the Breeders' Cup 2022. In fact, if I click my fingers, we could be there in a second. And just like that, here I am, Keeneland Racetrack in Kentucky for the Breeders' Cup 2022. Let's go and see how the horses we followed are getting on. I'm delighted to be joined by Brian from LG Bloodstock, who's going to shed some light for us on what happens when a horse gets on an aeroplane. Basically, how do horses fly?
You go business class, economy, just like an ordinary.
For horses?
Yeah, exactly the same. So you'd have one, first class would be a horse on his own.
How do the horses react to flying then? Because it's got to be unusual for them. They don't really understand what's going on.
I would say probably about 95% of them are fine. We earn our money when it's the 5%, but our main job is to get them on the aircraft. We load them into the stalls and then they're lifted up and they're put into a cargo aircraft. They stand all the way, they're fed, they're watered, you can control the temperature. We can go back and check the horses at any time.
Does the pilot have to behave differently, drive the plane differently?
Depends on the size of the aircraft and depends on the length of the runway, but if we can get a nice rolling start when we land, not hitting the brakes too much, they're generally pretty good.
Midnight Mile.
The Platinum Queen.
So they've landed in Kentucky and it's time for some rest, so they'll head to quarantine for 48 hours before the action really begins.
Here's Sheila and the Platinum Queen. Midnight Mile. And leading out in quarantine. So we're limited to do the next 48 hours. We can do it an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening. We'll take it very well.
So Richard, how are the fillies?
Travelled well, eating well, drinking well. We haven't done much with them since they've come, just like canters. But both fillies seem to be in a good place. So fingers crossed, they've travelled well, and we're very pleased where we are with them.
Yeah, look, she's in great form, and we went on the grass today, which was something different for her. But look, she's in great form, and look, it's only a couple of days to the race, but hopefully we can keep her in one piece till then.
They're off. It's the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, and away to a perfect beginning. And
So obviously we know how much time goes into making these horses ready for track, for prepping them, coming over to fly. We spent time with Erin and Midnight Mile at Richard Fahey's yard, and it all comes down to this, just a few minutes. Let's see what happens. Here we go then, this is it, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. All eyes, for us at least, on the Platinum Queen.
They're off for the juvenile turf sprint.
And they're off, here we go.
Oxymore had a good beginning. Love Reigns
Not a bad start, you know.
Speedboat Beaches right there.
Roughly 4th at the moment, early on, down the first straight. Platinum Queen, she's dropping back a little.
Here comes Mr. Magic and Mr. Magic and William Buick do it.
I guess that's just the way it works out sometimes. A valiant effort from the Platinum Queen. Dramatised as well, doing exceptionally well there. It's just like we saw in the first episode of Racing Education. Dreams are often made or lost in events like this. And she put in a valiant effort. Incredible. Well, that's just the way it is.
And Morantiana, these two with creative force, closing in the middle. It is going to be Caravel to win the turf sprint.
You can't be anything but delighted. The horse has run a stormer. For a split second, I thought we had it, but you know, fair play to the winner. Obviously, as game as they come, but yeah, I mean, listen, when you got Ryan on board, that's an added bonus. You know, the last 50 yards, obviously the filly was very game.
Now let's see how Midnight Mile gets on in the Juvenile Fillies turf.
They're off in the Juvenile Fillies turf. Free look, Comanche Country, right at the rail, Be Your Best alongside. Tate, Teacher to the outside, Midnight Mile, and Laston all finishing down the middle of the court, but it will be Meditate. Oh, she just dominated the Juvenile Fillies turf. Pleasant Passage was second.
So probably not the result the Fahey team would have wanted on the day. A valiant effort from Midnight Mile, coming from the back to finish in 4th. And the Platinum Queen arguably disappointed, but she owes them absolutely nothing. It's not a total loss for the Europeans though. Charlie Appleby's incredible record at the Breeders' Cup continues. And in the final race of the day, and a win for Aidan O'Brien, Victoria Road brought home victory under Ryan Moore. And that was 2 victories for Ryan Moore on the day as well. So not all bad for the Europeans at the Breeders' Cup.
You can watch more Sporting Life video by clicking on the left here. And you can download the free Sporting Life app in your app store now for the latest news, expert tipping insight and big race analysis all at the tap of a finger. Users must be 18 or over to sign up to the Sporting Life app.